Dear friends, Peter Sam has been working on the Talyllyn Railway in Wales. The Fin Controller's railway became so busy that he had to bring Peter Sam home to help. Sir Handel was jealous, but Peter Sam told us about the time he was ill while he was in Wales. It seemed too good a story to waste, so I decided to share it with you. I hope Peter Sam isn't too upset. The author. The Railway Series. Stories written by the Reverend Wilbert Awdry and his son Christopher Awdry. Audiobooks narrated by Samuel Dudley, aka Uncle Mammy. Book 40, You Little Engine. Story 1, Speedkiller. I hate dawdling like this, growled Rusty. I get hot and uncomfortable. Sorry, old chap, replied his driver. We can't go any faster or the weed killer won't spread properly. Rusty knew this, but he still itched to go quicker. His train that morning was a flat truck with a large tank in it. A pipe hung across the line behind the truck's buffers, and when the man in charge turned a tap, liquid sprayed onto the track through holes in the pipe. The weed-killing train was used only once a year, but that was once too often for Rusty. He had hoped that Fred, the other diesel, would pull the train today, but Fred was ill. So he says, muttered Rusty darkly to himself. It was a holiday weekend. The Fin Controller had expected plenty of visitors, but he was surprised at the number who came. It was Rheneas's turn to take the first train, and he happily pulled the empty coaches to the station. So many people were on the platform that Rheneas could hardly see it. Phew! He puffed. How are all this lot going to get on the train? Will you go back for another carriage, please? Asked the Fin Controller. I'm arranging an extra train later in the day. The time spent fetching the carriage made Rheneas late. He hated being late, but he knew that today it wasn't his fault. Hurry, 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 he panted, trying to make up for lost time. They did well until they reached the middle station, where they had to stop. Rusty and his weed-killing train were waiting in the loop for them. Nipped all those weeds in the bud, have you? Called Rheneas as the engines passed each other. Beyond the middle station, the line rises steeply for a short way so that it can cross a stream. The engines like to be able to get a run at this hill, especially when they have a heavy train. Today, Rheneas had to pass, very carefully, some hedge cutters working at the foot of the hill. This meant that he couldn't get a proper run at it. He struggled hard, but soon his wheels began to slip. Halfway up, he slithered to a halt. My wheels won't grip, he complained. The fireman got down. The wheels feel greasy, he said. It must be Rusty's weed killer, and the extra coach doesn't help either. Bother that Rusty, said Rheneas. It's not weed killer he's using, it's speed killer. Never mind, comforted his driver. We'll go back to the bottom and put plenty of sand on the rails. That should do it. The guard told the passengers what was planned, and Rheneas gently backed his train to where the hedge cutters were working. Then they paused so Rheneas could gather his breath. Peep, peep, he whistled bravely. Here goes. As they moved forward, the fireman turned on the sandpipes. I can do it. I can do it, Rheneas snorted. Slowly, very slowly, Rheneas reached the stream and crossed it. I will do it. I will do it. I have done it, Rheneas panted as the coaches crept after him across the bridge. Well done, Rheneas, said his driver. Now let's try and make up for lost time. They did their best, but the passengers only had a little while to admire the lake at the top station. They didn't mind. They said they had enjoyed the brave way in which Rheneas got them up the hill. Story Story 2, Sir Handel's Plan. "Who does that Peter Sam think he is?" grumbled Sir Handel. "He goes gallivanting off to Wales, and when our new engine isn't ready, he's brought back. We can manage without him." "We're short-engined until the new one is ready," said Skarloey. "It's sensible to have him back." "Ha!" snorted Sir Handel rudely. "If he's too puffed up in his smoke box, I know what I should do." When the Fin controller told Peter Sam to rest after his journey, Sir Handel was not pleased. "Why come home just to laze about all day?" Sir Handel grunted. He bumped his coaches crossly. Near the shed, he thought he saw Peter Sam grinning at him. "Right," he muttered. "That's it!" His wheels hit a rough rail joint. There was a crack and a clatter, and his driver stopped him quickly. "That's your day done," he said. "Your fire bars have collapsed, and your fire has fallen out." Sir Handel chuckled to himself. His plan was working well. Rusty was the only engine available quickly. He took Sir Handel's train, and the Fin controller came to see Peter Sam. "Sorry to spoil your rest," he said, "but I'm afraid you'll have to take Sir Handel's next train." Some of Sir Handel's fire was rescued and put into Peter Sam's firebox. As soon as Peter Sam could move, he pushed Sir Handel into the shed. Sir Handel didn't help at all. He just smirked to himself in the darkness. "That'll teach 'em," he thought. Days passed, but no one came to mend Sir Handel. Visitors thronged to see Peter Sam now that he was back, and everyone else was very busy. "Oh dear," thought Sir Handel sadly. "I didn't bargain for this." He grew cold, and his paint became dull. The cleaners were much too busy making sure the working engines looked smart to worry about Sir Handel. He heard the men working on the new engine, but they didn't come in to see him. They had no time either. One day, Sir Handel heard cheering from the workshop. "They must have finished the new engine," he muttered miserably. "I wish I could see him." Just then, the door at the back of the shed opened, and Sir Handel heard footsteps. It was the Fin controller. "Hello," he said. "Why are you looking so fed up?" "I'm sorry, sir," said Sir Handel. "Whatever for?" asked the Fin controller. "I broke my fire bars on purpose, sir. I wanted to pay Peter Sam out." The Fin controller paused. "I see," he said. He quickly rethought what he had been going to say. "Well, Sir Handel," he said sternly, "thank you for owning up. If you promise to behave yourself, you shall be mended." "Oh, yes, sir. I will, sir." "Very well," said the Fin controller gravely. Later that day, Sir Handel was giving a new set of fire bars. No one ever told him that the special sort, which he always used, had only been delivered that morning. Story 3, Dirty Water. "They clean engines very well on the Talyllyn Railway," remarked Peter Sam to Kathy and Lizzie. Lizzie was polishing his whistle, and Kathy was cleaning the round windows in front of his cab. Kathy jumped down. "If that means you think we don't do it so well here," she said indignantly, "I'm going home this minute." Peter Sam smiled. The girls' parents worked on the Talyllyn Railway, and now they were on holiday on the island of Sodor and had come to see him. "I was thinking of when I was ill," Peter Sam said. "I took some cleaning then, remember?" "Tell us again!" cried the girls. Quickly, Kathy sat on one buffer, while Lizzie balanced herself on the other. Peter Sam took a deep breath. "We have funny water on the Talyllyn," he began. "What's that got to do with it?" demanded Kathy. "Shh!" reproved her sister. "He won't tell us if you keep interrupting." "I wasn't!" Peter Sam yawned loudly. "Have you two finished?" he asked. "Sorry, Peter Sam," apologized Kathy. "I'll be quiet, I promise." Peter Sam paused. "As I was saying," he went on, "they have funny water on the Talyllyn. The men have to put something special in the water tank at the shed to make sure the water tastes nice." Peter Sam smiled to himself. "I was feeling quite well," he remembered, "until I had my drink. But that day, the water tasted awful. I told the driver how horrible it was, but he didn't seem worried. I took my coaches to the station, and the firemen let water into my boiler. Then I really began to have boiler ache. "I feel sick," I said. "Do the best you can," said my driver. "We'll have a look at you at the end of the trip." But I never got that far. The green flag waved, and the driver opened the regulator. I went a few inches, and then whoosh! A column of filthy white water sprayed out of my funnel. Peter Sam shuddered. "This awful water splashed all over me," he went on. "It was lucky there wasn't any visitors nearby. Ugh! And there I was, covered in horrible white sludge." Peter Sam shuddered again and closed his eyes. Driver tried to start me again, but the same thing happened. Luckily, Skarloey's twin Talyllyn was at the station, and he took my train. All I wanted to do was go back to the shed for a rest, but I wasn't allowed to. "Why?" asked Lizzie. Peter Sam paused. "They said that the visitors had come to see me, and would be disappointed if I wasn't there. So I was put onto the spare line, and everyone was told I was ill." "But you soon got well again, didn't you?" said Kathy. "Oh, yes," replied Peter Sam. "I was cleaned inside and out, and that was much better. They said someone had used too much of whatever it was they put in the water tank. They do it differently now." "That's right," put in Lizzie. "Dad told me you have to take a pill." "Not a pill," objected her sister. "It's white stuff that the fireman puts into our tanks," said Peter Sam. "Much better. It took ages to clean off the muck that came out of my funnel. And that," he added sternly, "is all I meant when I said that they clean engines well on the Talyllyn." "Yes, Peter Sam," giggled the girls. "Of course it is." Story 4. I Name This Engine. The men had been working on the new engine for a long time. "What's his name?" the other engines kept asking. "We don't know. It's a secret," was always the reply. "Everyone just calls him Number 7. At last Peter Sam could contain himself no longer. He asked the fin controller. The fin controller smiled. "Wouldn't you like to know?" he teased. "I do." "What is it?" came a chorus of voices. "But I'm not telling. You'll have to wait until the naming party." Ivo Hugh, the railway's chief engineer, was going to do the naming. Even he didn't know the engine's name. "But Mr. Hugh, you must know what it is," protested Skarloey. "I'm afraid not," laughed Mr. Hugh. "The name won't be painted until the last minute." "It must be a place or a person," said Sir Handel. "To match us," he added. "I think it's a place," decided Rheneas. "But why is it a secret?" The engines didn't know, but they thought Rheneas's idea was the best. On the great day, a special train was to pick up the fin controller, his guests, and Mr. Hugh, and bring them to the bottom station for the ceremony. Skarloey, as the oldest engine, was going to pull it. The day was sunny. Kathy and Lizzie came early to the shed. First, they cleaned Skarloey, and then they polished Peter Sam. Skarloey whistled cheerfully as he went up the line, and by then, all the other engines looked just as smart as he did. Skarloey passed the big house where the fin controller lived, and went as far as the middle station. There, he ran round the train, and pulled it back downhill. He stopped at the big house, and when the fin controller and his guests were on the train, he stopped again near the cottage where Mr. Hugh lived. Skarloey had just restarted when, with a squealing noise, something dashed past his front wheels. He stopped quickly. "What on earth?" demanded the fireman, jumping from the cab. In the long grass beside the line lay a large mother pig, and frisking around her were 7 pink piglets. Clearly, Skarloey could go no further until they were safely caught. But they didn't want to be caught. "Oh dear," fretted Skarloey. "We're going to be late for the party. I know we are." The fin controller, Mr. Hugh, and even some of the guests joined the chase until all the animals had been captured and put safely back into the field. At the bottom station, a large crowd had gathered. All the engines except Skarloey were there. Number 7, with his name covered, simmered quietly. The minutes ticked by. The manager looked at his watch. "Something must be wrong," Rheneas whispered to Duke. "Skarloey should be here by now." "Perhaps the fin controller wasn't ready," suggested Duncan, but was firmly hushed by the others. At last they heard a whistle in the distance. A little later, Skarloey puffed thankfully into the station. "I'm sorry we're late," Mr. Hugh said, "but we've been chasing pigs," and he told them all about it. "However," he went on, "I'm here to name an engine. I don't know what it's called yet, so I shall have to read it to you. I herefore name this engine—" He pulled away the curtain. "Bless my soul! No, not that. It's Ivo Hugh!" He turned to the fin controller. "I am honored, sir. Thank you," he said, and all the little engines whistled loudly in acclamation.